Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to today's live session. I'm very excited for the amazing conversation that we are going to have today. And today, we're going to answer a very important question. What does it really take to become extraordinary? Because I know all of us have dreams, all of us have goals, all of us have these big visions that we want to aim at. And yet, for some reason, we end up doubting ourselves. We end up holding back and we think, well, maybe me, maybe not. I don't know how I'll make things happen. But the simple truth is, the capacity to do great things is in all of us. The number of people who actually use that capacity is very few. And with today's video, today's live session, I want to make sure that you are someone who can take that chance. You can enter that very few group of people who can make it happen, who can actually become extraordinary and do something remarkable with their lives. And although it may seem like there's some elusive secret that top people know that we don't, that's often not the case. What they have is a different perspective, a different mindset, a different lens towards mastery that allows them to take a whole new lens at their lives. And that's the lens we want to build today. Because if there's one thing I've understood about life, it's this: it expands in proportion to the perspectives you can hold. I'll repeat that again. Your life expands in proportion to the perspectives you can hold, even if they may sometimes seem paradoxical or contradictory. The reason most of us are stuck is not because we don't know what to do. We know that. The reason we are stuck is because we have limited perspective on life, limited perspective on problems, a limited perspective on success, and a very limited perspective on opportunities. And while people will tell you, go take action and you can do it, I'm saying, before doing that, build the perspective first. At least see what's there, see how you can make it happen, understand more about what life holds and what life can offer to you. And when you do that, is when you truly take the first step towards becoming limitless. And that's why today I want to introduce you to one perspective like this that can completely shift the game for you and change the way you approach your goals. Because for us, again, the problem is not in the know how, the problem is in the limited perspectives we are holding. Let's expand that today. Let's take a new lens towards the same problem and see what changes and how life becomes better. For me personally, the lens I'm about to share with you has been one that has brought so much peace, so much clarity, and so much calmness that I'm sure it will do the same for you. I'm speaking this from tried and tested experience. And so, what people do, the secret that people use to become extraordinary is that they understand this one idea. And the idea is work life balance is a myth. Yes, I know. You've heard lots of people in the world talking about how you should balance your work and life, how you should not stress yourself out, how you should focus on handling all things at once and taking a balanced approach. And well, all of that's fine. It leads you to ordinary, it doesn't lead you to extraordinary. And I'll give you a simple example here. Somebody who's an Olympian, okay, somebody who wants to get the gold in a competition that's literally the competition of extraordinary people only from across the world, can that person really even afford to take their practice for granted and to think to themselves, I have to balance my work and life now, so I'm only going to practice for 6 hours in the day. I'm not going to practice for the 10 to 12 hours that my competitors will definitely be practicing for, but because I have a balanced approach, I know I'm going to succeed. The thinking doesn't work that way. If the Olympics are 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, even 4 years from now, their training starts now. They're obsessed now. They're focused now. They're driven now. And that's what makes people extraordinary. A, just a completely different lens of focus and determination and drive. They are obsessed and they have no apologies about it. Look at the entrepreneur that you admire. Look at people you know who've made it big, and you will see this common thread in all of them. When you succeed, when you take it to the next level, when you want to get to your goals, you are going to have to take life in an imbalanced way. And even if you may like to believe that, I'd like things to be different, it cannot be, because extraordinary results require extraordinary efforts. Greatness requires commitment. And if you just stuck up on the whole balance idea, you can do well. I'm not saying you won't, but don't expect extraordinary from your life then. Because if you don't put in those efforts, it is injustice and it is entitlement to expect those kind of results too. Now, I'm not saying effortless results won't come your way. That's not what I'm saying. But for effortless results to come your way, the effortless results have to know that you are worthy of handling the success that comes with those effortless results. Otherwise, you'll get the success, then you will not be able to handle it. The work you put in today, the preparation you do today, is what makes you capable of not only becoming extraordinary, but staying extraordinary. And I've heard this from countless people. I've read this in countless biographies. This singular point of focus, this obsession with the one thing they wanted to do, is what gives people that edge, that push, that leap across this valley of confusion, darkness, lack of belief, which pushes them to the other side where only a few are there. Otherwise, what everybody else does is they look at the valley down there and they think, too big of a jump. It's going to demand too much from me. It's going to demand me to go all in, and I can't sacrifice my balance. So they're balancing the life, but they're never taking the leap of faith. And even if they do, they're doomed. Reason being simple. Imagine this is where you are, and this is where you want to be. In between, there's a valley, and that valley is deep. If you fall, you fall. There's no coming back. Now, at that moment, will you jump with half the force? Will you jump with a half hearted effort? Will you jump with an attitude, let me balance myself, let me make sure all my energy is not going into this jump just in case I find out I've burnt out and exhausted myself? Are you going to think that way? You're not. If you really want to make that jump, you're going to make sure every fiber of your being, every cell in your body, every single muscle is aligned to making that leap happen. Now, my question is, if extraordinary success is not a leap, what is? If those dreams that you're seeing, those ambitions that you have, that greatness that you envision, if that does not demand a leap, what else demands a leap? And it's going to come at the cost of balance. Let's accept that fact, because once you accept that fact, here's the amazing thing that happens: you unlock another new perspective. That perspective is, life does not work in terms of balance, because life is always going to be imbalanced. You are here, you have limited resources, you have unlimited goals, you can only invest in a few. At any given moment, your life is going to be imbalanced. But what doesn't have to happen is only one lopsided imbalance. Life works in phases, not in everyday balance. I'll repeat that again. Life works in phases, not everyday balance. So there are going to be phases in your life where you're going to be extra focused, extra oriented towards career, towards building financial freedom. And these are probably going to be your younger years in life or the later years, whatever it may be. But for most people, it's their 20s, it's their early years. I am in that phase of my life right now, which I'd like to call the growth phase, right? I'm focused on growth. I'm focused on expansion. I'm focused on taking my business, my coaching, my impact, my mission to the next level, which is why even if some days are demanding 16, 17 hours of work from me, I'm doing it with joy. I'm doing it with gratitude, because I've accepted and I'm aware of the fact that this is a growth phase and life is inherently going to be imbalanced in this phase. So, am I making lots of time for my friends? No, I'm not. Am I going out and hanging out every Saturday and Sunday? No, I'm not. Am I balancing my life in the traditional sense where it's just a 5 day work week and then the rest 2 days are completely off for rest and rejuvenation? No, I am not. And I'm so happy about it and I'm so committed about it and I'm loving it, because I'm clear this is a phase, and in life, phases can change. You see, our problem is we want everything today. We don't realize the simple truth that we can have it all, just not all at once. We can have it all, just not all at once. And the people who become extraordinary understand this. They accept it, they go ahead with it. That's why their lives are not a mess and our lives are a mess. We are trying to be so balanced that we're trying to hold so many plates together at once. And rather than one thing happening well, everything is falling apart. So let's take a bit more different lens here and look at life from the lens of phases rather than just everyday balance. So when you're in your growth phase, when you're in your career oriented phase, of course things are going to be bit oriented, bit more focused, and bit more obsessed over making things happen in your career. And in that time, if you don't prioritize a relationship, if you don't prioritize friendships, if you don't prioritize the classic hang out every weekend getaway, all those balance ideas that we get, it's going to be okay. Life's not going to end. The best part is, now understand this thinking we don't do, this thinking we don't move towards. If you do your growth phase well, you don't have to balance even in the later phases. And let's say then you're ready for the family phase. You want to have a family, you want to have a wonderful relationship, and let's say you become a parent. Both you and your partner, if both of you are financially free, and if there's a day you just want to be with your kids and you don't want to go anywhere and you want to lounge around the house, you're going to have the financial freedom to make it happen. And in that phase of your life, if you're then working like 2 3 hours a day, you're maintaining, you're partnering with people, you're delegating the work, the rest of the time you're spending at home with your family like somebody who has no worry in the world, you can do that. And then at that point also, people are going to say, what's going to happen to your career, what's going to happen to your job? And I'm not just talking about women here, I'm talking about men and women both. When both are financially free, when both have that independence in their family phase of life, they can have an extraordinary relationship too. Why stick to just weekend getaways? Why can't you go on a getaway in the middle of the week? Think about it. To have that freedom is to live an extraordinary life. But if to have that freedom, you have to focus on things that are not so cool right now, I don't think that's too big of a problem, is it? It's actually the best trade off you could make. Because when you think in the long term, then you create results in the long term. And I've coached many people, I've had many conversations, and I've seen this pattern play out every single time. Because they're chasing balance, nothing is working out. Things at home are suffering, things in relationships are suffering, things in career are suffering, money is not growing as much as they'd like. And then, because they're trying to balance it all, even on days when they'd like to be with the family, they have to go to work. They don't have the choice. And even on days when they want to go to work, because they have this idea of balance in their heads, they spend their time attending functions and being at weddings and being in places that drain the life out of them just because they want to be socially accepted. So you see, this whole idea of balance is actually a pretty messed up idea. It's not something that makes you extraordinary. Think of life in phases instead. And your task is to identify, what phase of life are you in? Like for me, it's clear. I am in the growth phase. And I don't mind it at all if I'm not prioritizing relationships right now. It doesn't mean I'm treating people carelessly and I'm being inconsiderate and unkind and rude and bratty. No. What it simply means is I'm okay with investing more time towards my work, less time towards people. And again, another myth I just want to break: relationships don't require time, they require presence. We'll talk about that some other day though. What we want to understand here are the different phases. So, because I'm in this phase, I'm clear. When I have the relationship phase of my life, and a lot of my business is in automation, if I'm working way few hours in a day, I'm going to be okay with that too, because I don't want an ordinary relationship. I don't want that normal thing only. I want it to be extraordinary. And I want to make sure that I'm able to give my 100% time, effort, attention, and space to the people who matter the most to me, not have to sacrifice there too. See, when we take this longer approach in your life, I want you to apply this today. I want you to think about this. And I want you to ask yourself, if you looked at life in terms of phases instead of just balance, you will become extraordinary, not just in one field, in every single aspect, because you will know how to prioritize and you will have understood this core truth that you can have it all, just not all at once. And that singularity of focus, again, see, extraordinariness comes from what? Singularity of focus. When it's singular on your career, you make things happen much faster. When you can singularly focus on your relationship and your family life, you can make so many beautiful memories and wonderful life happen there too. So actually, the more balanced approach to life is creating extraordinary success by focusing on phases, not on everyday balance. Allow for imbalance, allow for some things to naturally fall off, allow yourself to shamelessly prioritize what matters to you. It's your life, it's your goals, it's your success. Dare to dream, dare to be extraordinary because you deserve it. Everybody does. It's not a secret. The top 1% of the world, they just know this. They know how to become extraordinary. They know how to go through phases of life with enough commitment, dedication, and effort. So, whatever phase you may be in, just understand this. Give it your all. Even if it's imbalanced, it's okay. Give it your all, and life will come back with leaps and bounds of incredible success that's ready to come your way. All it demands is, can you step beyond the conventional and allow yourself to take this unconventional approach, which people may not understand, but you surely will if you can hold that long term perspective in your mind. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you tomorrow once again for our next live session that helps you get to a breakthrough even faster, even better. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you once again tomorrow at the same time, that is 8:30 p.m. IST. Bye. See you soon.